Well, here we go, back at it again. Another time with Dan. We need to hang out and just chat a little bit and share my thoughts on a variety of life things. More so, it's just to kind of give you an update. Truthfully, like doing this is so therapeutic. You know, whether or not you decide to ever post something on social media or share your heart and thoughts with the masses, doing this to a camera and just letting your thoughts out is so helpful. I mean, I don't have a huge following. I don't have thousands of people clamoring to hear what I have to say. And personally, you know, if that happens, cool. But even if one or two people listen to this and it's helpful, you know, truthfully and selfishly, it's helpful for me. So that's why I'm doing this. But I got to tell you this. You need to do this, or you need to make sure you're aware of this in your life if you want to see some big changes. A recent study from, I think, the Institute of Science stated that 80% of our thoughts are negative. That alarmed me because I'm a pretty optimistic guy. So if we know that well more than a majority of the stuff inside this gray matter is not helping us, what do we do about that? Well, we can sit and be more negative, right? And be like, oh, I'm just a negative person. Make sure your voice cracks too. Or we can look at that as an opportunity, because much of that is fear. And I dealt with a little bout of fear yesterday. You know, I was sitting in my office dealing with some stuff. You know, running a business has its challenges, whether it be interpersonal with people internally, external with just, transactions, just the business side of things. And, you know, I was thinking about this. I got Midas playing with a squeaky ball. I was thinking about this, and I started getting scared. If you've been following me recently, I've hired someone who I'm really excited about. I think she's an amazing individual. She's going to be a huge support to me in helping me grow. You know, I've hired some other people in sales roles. I'm putting more money towards marketing. And in business, you have to kind of put the stuff out there before you get the fruit. It's like gardening. You got to plant the seed before you can get the harvest. And the scary part with business is a lot of it is your time, your energy, your mental space, and also the financial piece of that, you know, the money that you need to commit. And, you know, as I look at the checkbook and then the bank accounts, I can see how quickly that can go away if things don't work out. And that can be fearful. You know, as a business owner, you're trying to put stuff out in the ether. But this is where fear can be a motivator. Matter of fact, there's other studies that say that people who push past their limiting beliefs are able to achieve higher results. They have more consistency in their life. Because what they do is when that fear comes, they don't sit and wallow in it. Midas, this is what's going on right now. But when fear comes, they don't sit and just let it fester. They use that as fuel. They use that to motivate themselves. They try to use it as, how can I get better, right? So what happens when fear comes in your life, right? What do? Do you falter? Or do you use that as the momentum to get better? Tony Robbins says, if you're in your head, you're dead. And really what that means is that if you continue to allow these things to just be demotivating for you, Midas is going after that ball again because he's mad I took it away. But if you use this stuff to demotivate you, you're just going to sit there and be miserable. Well, conversely, if you flip it around, be like, okay, this is what's going on. What you have to analyze, why am I fearful? Yes, fear is a healthy part of our life. We're never going to get rid of fear. But fear can also be a liar, specifically when it's telling us stories that just aren't true. I've shared this in prior videos, guys. We get to write the story, not our circumstances. It doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter what's going on in your world right now. You get to decide. And truthfully, in today's world, we have so many things tugging at us. You look at the political climate. You look at the latest news stories. You look at the latest election. You pick your poison, right? Heck, if I wanted to, I'm a Brewers fan. They suck this year, right? These are like 1-4, 1-5. I used to. I used to be really, I mean, I'm still into sports, but like I used to live and die by the Green Bay Packers. Like if they won on a Sunday, man, I was high on life that following Monday. And then the following Monday, if they lost on that Sunday or on the weekend, it took me 2 to 3 days. And I would sit and listen to all the news talk radio and like, oh, this person sucks, fire this coach, this player needs to go. You know, you'd sit and like champion that and be like, yeah, this sucks, you know, but you'd be miserable. But I don't let that control me anymore. I enjoy sports. I enjoy watching football, basketball, baseball, but it doesn't consume me. I don't live and die. I don't control their outcomes. I can enjoy their performance, win or lose, but I'm not going to let it control my emotions. I was sick and tired of that happening. I know that's a sports reference, but what's in your world? Maybe it's political. Maybe the candidate that you voted for didn't win, or the party that's in office you're not happy with. We all have our ideological views, you know, some stronger than others. But don't allow that to control your life. At the end of the day, yes, we may vote these people in, but we don't control what they do. That doesn't mean we sit back idle and do nothing. We must do our part in the right mindset, not to be destructive and pull people down and hurtful, but out of love and compassion. We can all make change no matter where we stand on things, right? I have friends of mine that are across the aisle from me, but I can be friends with them. Anyway, that's a little sidebar. But the whole idea is what I'm saying is what do we do with this fear that comes our way? It either is going to consume us or compel us. We can use it for fuel to get us past that. You know, I can also say of recent for me, it's the fitness journey, right? When I got here down to Florida, I was just not happy with the way I wanted it, the way it looked. I used that fear of like, I've always been a chubby kid to push me past that, to get a coach, right? To get a plan together. And even now as I'm on this fitness journey, you know, I've hit some good strides. I feel like I'm at the best weight I've been at in a long time, but yet I still see, I have some target areas. Like I was a bigger guy. I have this skin around my midsection that I'm not happy with. So I'm using that as my fuel. I could use it as a fear and be like, oh, I'm always going to have this, you know, whatever, extra weight that I can't get rid of. Or I use it to motivate me. So enough of my stories. What's your story? What are you going to do with that fear when it comes? You might be dealing with it right now. You might be sitting. You might be sitting like me many a night, sleepless nights, your mind's spinning. What am I going to do? Use that as your motivation. There's always options. You know, we always think that, well, this is the situation. No, if you truly step out of that and get yourself in the right mindset and think about what are my true options and write that stuff down, you'll be surprised at how many outs you have or what your plan can be. Because once you start listing that, you're going to see you have 3, 4, 5 different things that you could potentially do to solve whatever fear you're dealing with. You're going to probably throw away 2 or 3 of them, and you'll find 1 to 2 that are probably the best, and of which you pick one of them and execute it. That I know I made it sound simple, but it starts here. We got to stop allowing our brain to go in that vicious cycle and allow the fear to control us, and use that as the fuel to push through. Because when we do that, we're breaking those self-limiting beliefs. We're creating a new identity, which I've talked a lot about, right? We're forming that. We're taking the neuroplasticity of our brain and rewiring it. And it's going to change everything that you do. You do that once, and then you compound on doing that multiple times. Before you know, when anything comes your way, it'll be like a silly mosquito. You just kind of swat away versus being that 10,000-pound gorilla on your back. So take inventory of your life. What are the fears holding you back today? What's limiting you from the things, the goals, the life that you want to achieve? Stop, be reflective of that. Get your brain right. Write down the options and then execute it. That's how you have great change. But you need fear in your life in order to push you through that. Embrace it, use it as fuel, and get to that next level. Have an amazing day, guys. Talk soon.